Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. TYREEK, who has never shied away from a challenge, and now, as the Miami Dolphins defensive backfield gets a dramatic facelift, he's stepping into the spotlight with bold intentions. The trade of Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers shocked fans and left a gaping hole in Miami's secondary. On top of that, standout safety Jevon Holland packed his bags for the New York Giants, leaving the Dolphins scrambling to stabilize a suddenly fragile unit. In the wake of these departures, who, an undrafted underdog turned reliable starter, isn't just ready to pick up the slack. He's embracing the challenge with open arms. "I've got to show the younger guys how it's done," who told the Miami Herald, making it clear that leadership isn't a role he stumbled into. It's one he's seizing with intent, like a seasoned general rallying fresh troops. Who's voice is rising above the uncertainty, cutting through the silence with purpose. The Dolphins' secondary now feels like a clean slate, unpolished, but full of potential. With the absence of household names, a crop of largely unknown players are being asked to do the extraordinary, compete in a league that punishes inexperience. Who is now the elder statesman in a room featuring undrafted talents like Storm Duck and Ethan Bonner, plus fifth-round rookie Jason Marshall Jr. It's a patchwork crew by NFL standards, lacking the decorated resumes of their predecessors. Kem Smith, last year's second-round pick, still hasn't cracked the starting lineup, failing to record a single interception in 21 games. Veteran depth comes in the form of Artie Burns and Kendall Sheffield, solid but unspectacular contributors. It's a group teetering on the edge of obscurity. Yet, for who, that's where the magic lies. He sees echoes of greatness in unlikely places. He believes that what this room lacks in experience, it can make up for in hunger, grit, and an unrelenting work ethic. Who's rise is no fluke. Coming out of Texas A&M Commerce, he entered the NFL without the fanfare of a top prospect. No combined buzz, no draft night spotlight, just pure determination. And now, 4 seasons later, he's amassed 47 games and 38 starts, numbers that reflect a player who has earned every snap. His 2024 campaign was quietly solid: 45 tackles to interceptions and a 68.9 coverage grade from Pro Football Focus. Not eye-popping, but steady like a metronome in a chaotic symphony. Still, who isn't satisfied. "I need more interceptions, more plays," he said, his tone not boastful, but driven. He knows that to elevate this defense, his individual play must also climb a notch. He's not chasing stardom, he's chasing consistency, legacy, and the trust of a locker room that's looking for a new voice. That hunger makes him dangerous and indispensable to Miami's hopes this season. As training camp looms, who finds himself reflecting on the Dolphins' storied past, particularly the 1970 to no-name defense, a group of men who weren't household names, yet dominated every opponent in their path en route to a perfect season. "You can feel the hunger in our room," he said. It's not just a throwaway quote, it's a mantra, a declaration that the nameless can rise again. For who, it's personal. He's tasted the doubt, felt the disrespect, and now stands at the forefront of a renaissance movement in Miami's secondary. It's no longer about proving he belongs. It's about proving this defense can thrive, even without the glittering stars, with young, hungry players looking to make their mark. The Dolphins are betting on character over clout, fight over flash. Who sees himself in every undrafted free agent walking into the locker room, and he's ready to lead them through the fire. Adding to the intrigue, the Dolphins welcome back a familiar face via the Jalen Ramsey trade: Minkah Fitzpatrick. Once the cornerstone of Miami's secondary, Fitzpatrick returns with a wealth of experience and versatility. Though primarily a safety, he's expected to slide into cornerback duties in specific defensive packages, offering the Dolphins flexibility and a cerebral presence. Who, ever the student of the game, knows exactly what that means. "Versatility is everything," he said. "Guys like Minkah allow us to disguise looks, confuse quarterbacks, make offenses guess. It's a chess move, not just a personnel shift." Who believes this defense can evolve into something smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than ever before. He sees Fitzpatrick's return not as a crutch, but as an opportunity to learn and grow alongside one of the league's savviest defenders. If Fitzpatrick becomes the brain, who is ready to be the heart, and that's a combination Dolphins fans should get excited about. Still, questions linger. Can this patchwork secondary hold up against elite quarterbacks? Will the lack of star power haunt them late in games? And most importantly, who will emerge as the vocal leader when adversity strikes? Kohou doesn't claim to have all the answers, but he's offering something more valuable: stability. In a league that feasts on volatility, players who show up every week, play their role, and uplift those around them are gold. That's the message he's subtly sending to the coaching staff. Trust me. Let me lead. Build around the guys who believe for this franchise, not just those who dazzle in spurts. Kohou understands this isn't just a job anymore. It's a responsibility, one he didn't ask for, but one he's more than ready to carry as training camp intensity ramps up. His actions, not his words, will determine whether this defense crumbles or rises. And rise they must. The AFC is a minefield of offensive firepower. From Josh Allen in Buffalo to Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, every misstep in coverage is a potential touchdown. Miami's defense ranked 9th in passing yards allowed last year, but that was with Ramsey and Holland anchoring the backfield. Without them, every rep, every adjustment, every tackle matters more. Kohou knows this. You've got to be perfect on Sundays, he said. There's no margin for error, and yet, he doesn't speak with fear, he speaks with clarity. His preparation, his study habits, his attention to detail are all laser-focused on one goal: making this defense respectable again. He's not here to replace Ramsey. He's not trying to be Xavier Howard. He's Kader Kohou, undrafted, unfiltered, and unapologetically confident in his path forward. If the Dolphins make noise in 2025, it will be because players like Kohou refuse to fold. When the spotlight got hotter. Inside the Dolphins facility, the tone has changed. There's less talk about Pro Bowl selections and more about accountability. Kohou, now one of the longest tenured defensive backs on the roster, is setting that tone daily. From film sessions to weight room grind, younger players are watching his every move. It's leadership by osmosis, and make no mistake, the coaches are watching too. In an era where locker rooms are often defined by ego and brand building, Kohou is building something different: trust. Trust that doesn't waver after a blown coverage. Trust that shows up early, stays late, and leads in between. The Dolphins coaching staff, facing pressure to contend now, can't afford a fractured unit on defense. That's where Kohou comes in. He's the glue guy, the one who holds everything together when things start to fray. He may not lead in jersey sales, but within those walls, his influence is undeniable. Even Kohou admits this next chapter will test him. I've never had this much responsibility on my shoulders, he confessed. But that vulnerability makes him more relatable, more human. In a league where bravado is often the norm, Kohou's honesty is refreshing. It's also inspiring. Young corners like Marshall Jr. and Duck aren't just hearing what leadership looks like. They're seeing it in real time, every snap, every rep. Kohou is modeling the professionalism required to survive in the NFL. That message resonates beyond the locker room. It reaches the coaching staff, the front office, and most importantly, the fan base. Dolphins fans love an underdog, and few embody that spirit better than Kohou. His journey from overlooked to irreplaceable mirrors the kind of grit this franchise was built on. As the 2025 season inches closer, all eyes may drift to flashier names, but the heart of the Dolphins defense beats through. Kader Kohou. So, what now for the Dolphins? In a division that's never been more competitive, with rival rosters stacking talent like poker chips, the answer isn't panic, it's purpose. Kohou's message to the coaching staff is clear. Bet on the grinders. Bet on the guys who don't skip steps, who don't need validation to produce. With the ghosts of Ramsey and Holland gone, a new identity must be forged. One that doesn't rely on accolades, but accountability. And Kader Kohou is already leading that transformation. As camp kicks off and the pads start cracking, his voice will echo louder, not through press conferences, but through example. He's not chasing clout. He's building culture, and in a league that often forgets names quickly, Kohou's impact is destined to outlive the stat sheets. This isn't just a comeback story, it's a blueprint. One that the Dolphins would be wise to follow as they try to build something sustainable in South Beach. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments, what's your take on the Fins this week? There's a storm brewing in Miami, and it's not just the usual South Florida weather. According to sources close to the Dolphins organization, tensions between Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have reportedly reached a boiling point. Now, we're hearing serious whispers that Hill has told people inside the locker room he can't share the field with Waddle any longer. If true, this is massive. These are two of the most electric wide receivers in the NFL. And together they form one of the league's most dangerous duos. But what happens when egos clash? When competition for targets turns into cold silence on the sidelines? People close to the situation say this rift didn't start overnight, it's been building. Whether it's about touches, attitude, or locker room dynamics, we don't know all the details. But where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And in this case, that fire could scorch the Dolphins' playoff hopes. Now let's rewind. Last season, both Hill and Waddle were putting up monster numbers. Hill was playing like a legit MVP candidate. And Waddle was no slouch either. He's one of the fastest players in the league. And a nightmare in open space. On paper, this duo should be thriving. But some observers began to notice subtle changes in body language on the field. Less celebration together, fewer interactions between the two. And then came the cryptic comments during media availability. Hill made a few remarks about not everyone being on the same page and some people needing to grow up. At the time, most brushed it off, but now, in the light of this recent alleged outburst, those words hit differently. Could this be a case of two alpha receivers vying for the same spotlight? It wouldn't be the first time we've seen star teammates go from best friends to bitter rivals. Let's talk about the quote itself. "I can't share the field with him anymore." That's a strong statement. It doesn't sound like frustration after a tough game, it sounds like a decision. A line drawn in the sand, if Hill really said that. It puts the Dolphins front office in an impossible position. You don't just bench Jalen Waddle, who's on a rookie deal and has shown all-pro potential, but you also don't move on from TYREEK Hill, who's the heart of your offense and was brought in to be the missing piece. If this rumor gains traction, it could force Miami's hand. Do they try to mediate and patch things up, or did they start quietly exploring trade options? One thing's for sure, if this turns into a me or him situation, it's going to rock the entire league, and for Dolphins fans, this could be the start of a very painful offseason. Sources inside the team are staying quiet publicly, at least, but insiders are starting to talk, and the pattern is familiar. When a star player makes a comment like that, it doesn't usually come out of nowhere. It often signals the end of the road for a partnership that just isn't working anymore, and it's not just about stats or performance. Word is, the chemistry between Hill and Waddle off the field has deteriorated as well. They used to hang out, joke around, build TikToks together. Lately, barely a word exchanged. Even in the locker room, it's subtle stuff, but those around the team are picking up on it. Coaches can see it. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has apparently tried to play peacemaker, but even he seems caught in the middle. This is not the energy a contending team wants heading into training camp, and yet, here we are, wondering what went wrong. There's also speculation that this could be part of a bigger issue with the Dolphins' offensive structure. TYREEK Hill thrives when he's the focal point. He's always been that guy, from Kansas City to Miami. Waddle, meanwhile, is more than just a second option. He wants to be the man too. And there's a growing sense that he believes he's earned that right. The Dolphins' offense has been trying to balance the two, but maybe that balance just isn't sustainable. When two elite receivers are on the field at the same time, there's bound to be overlap. And when egos get involved, things can implode fast. Remember Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. Remember OBJ and Jarvis Landry. Star receivers can make or break a team's locker room chemistry. If Hill truly feels like he can't share the field with Waddle, then that's not just about roots, that's about identity. The big question is, how will Mike McDaniel handle this? He's known for his player-friendly approach and innovative offense, but this is different. This is a full-on personality clash, if the rumors are true. McDaniel has been praised for how he managed big personalities last season, but this could be his toughest challenge yet. Does he sit both players down and force a heart-to-heart? Does he restructure the offense to appease one of them? Or does he make the nuclear move and ship one of them out? The idea of breaking up the Waddle-Hill combo was unthinkable a year ago. Now, it feels like a possibility, maybe even a likelihood. It's early, but training camp is right around the corner. If this drama isn't squashed by then, it'll only grow louder, and the last thing the Dolphins need is a distraction while trying to chase a Super Bowl. Fans are already reacting online, and opinions are divided. Some say Hill is being a diva, trying to control the narrative. Others blame Waddle for not knowing his role and trying to do too much, but the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. These are two elite athletes, both used to being the guy, and both now operating in a system that doesn't allow for that level of individual dominance. Social media sleuths have pointed out that Hill unfollowed Waddle on Instagram last week, which, let's be honest, is the modern equivalent of throwing shade in a press conference. Waddle hasn't responded publicly, but his camp has been quiet too. That silence is telling. Whether they're trying to downplay the situation or preparing for a major shakeup, something's clearly brewing. Fans better buckle up, because this could be the start of the most dramatic wide receiver fallout since T.O. and Donovan McNabb. What makes this even more complicated is the timing. The Dolphins are entering a critical year. They've got a roster that's built to win now. Tua finally healthy, and a defense that's been fortified with talent. They don't need this kind of drama, but star players come with star-level problems. And this is part of the package. Hill's comments, if confirmed, could have ripple effects all the way up to the GM's office. Does Chris Greer start working the phones? Could a blockbuster trade be brewing? Maybe the Dolphins flip Waddle for a top defensive player or more draft capital. Maybe they shock the league and move Hill instead. It sounds crazy, but so did TYREEK leaving Kansas City, and we all saw how that turned out. Never underestimate how quickly things can change in this league, especially when feelings get involved. Right now, everything feels fragile in Miami. Another angle to watch is how the rest of the locker room reacts. Players talk, they pick sides. And when a rift like this becomes public, it forces everyone to choose loyalty. If the team feels like Hill is being unfair, that can create division. If they think Waddle is the problem, it could isolate him. Either way, it breaks the unity that every winning team needs. And don't forget, this isn't a rebuild, it's go time. The Dolphins can't afford to have their top stars dragging the locker room energy down. Morale matters, especially in a long 17-game season. This is where team leaders need to step in, not just Tua, but guys like Terron Armstead and Xavier Howard. The coaches need to get ahead of this before it spills into the media and becomes a weekly talking point, because once that happens, it's nearly impossible to contain. For now, all we have are whispers, speculation, and that one heavy quote allegedly from Hill. But if history tells us anything, these stories don't just fade away. They grow, they evolve, and they often end in breakups. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were supposed to be the next big duo, like Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, or even Jerry Rice and John Taylor, but egos, pride, and ambition can tear even the most promising tandems apart. Maybe this is just a bump in the road and cooler heads will prevail, or maybe, just maybe, we're witnessing the early stages of one of the biggest wide receiver splits in recent memory. Dolphins fans better hope this is just a rumor, but for the rest of us watching from the outside, this is the kind of drama the NFL thrives on. Stay tuned, because this story is just getting started. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!